All right. Good morning. I am super stoked and excited about this anti-Black conversation. It is going to be dope for real. I get to share space with some amazing people. And so it got me grinning from ear to ear, just checking in with them. I was already like 10 minutes in, and we already grabbing tissue and laughing and different things. Well, first, my name is Tony McNeil. I'm a community organizer, and today I'm wearing multiple hats. So I'm a community organizer with Faith in the Valley, and we do organizing around a plethora of issues. And so my organizing hat today is just having conversation and raising awareness about some truths and different experiences surrounding COVID and the pandemic and how it's impacted different families and different individuals. So that's my organizing hat, busting myths, all of that stuff. I also am the founder and creator of the Anti-Black Conversation Space, which is a platform that I'm extremely proud of, where I bring community, families, and people, individuals of color into a space, and we just talk about anti-Blackness and how different issues impact individuals of color. And so it's that safe space where we can just kind of take off our mask, and have at it. So we're going to be talking about the impact that COVID has had on families of color. In specific, we're talking about the millennials and some Gen Zs and how it's impacted them. Um, so I would go on and on about other platforms, but I'm not, because it's not about me today. Today, I get to share space with some amazing young folks. They don't see themselves as young, but they're young to me because y'all, I'm a little on the other side. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm still bad though, but I'm getting there. But I want to share space today with some amazing folks, and all of these individuals are absolutely dear to my heart. I mean, in a real profound way. So first, let me have us go around and introduce ourselves. I'm gonna popcorn it. So, Chris, I'm gonna give it to you. You're a guest and a co-host today, so you are two hats. So, Chris,
Thank you. Thank you.
introduce
I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Chris Cannon. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to be here. I'm here just to, kind of share my experience of when my wife and I were pregnant during the pandemic and how we had what they call the pandemic baby. So I'm glad I could be able to share that experience for sure. I'm also a program manager at Public Health Advocates, where we educate the community on the COVID vaccine and just make the COVID vaccine more accessible or give more information about the vaccine for people who want to get it. So thank you for bringing me on, Elder Tony. I appreciate it. And next, popcorn to champagne.
Thank you, Chris. My name is Champagne Williams. I am Tony's daughter, her second child. I had my son really excited about participating in this conversation. Apologies up ahead if I do get emotional. Yeah, hard, very difficult, challenging times, as all of the mothers on this call know. So fun exposing myself to that vulnerability with you all is going to be just wonderful. I'm a public relations and digital marketing executive in New York City. My family is based in the Bronx. I had my son, my first child, at the age of 30, miles and miles and miles away from home, originally from Stockton, California. So it was a trying time, both with the distance and then with safety guidelines and social distancing guidelines and a lot of stuff that we'll get into later. But my son is now one, still very much pandemic baby. And it's still a challenge on a daily basis. Oh, I'll popcorn it to the Scoggins family.
Hey. So I'm Leon Scoggins, and this is my beautiful wife, Danae. And we had our baby in a pandemic. We got engaged in a pandemic. We got married in a pandemic. Then we had a baby in a pandemic. And yeah, after we came, a couple of months after we came back from our turning up in Vegas, we found out that there was somebody else coming into the world. But yeah, we've experienced a lot, and it's so funny the dynamics on that we just discovered about my wife's birthday being in March, our daughter being born in March, but also my wife's family is from New Jersey and had a hard time coming to California because of the pandemic restrictions. So that was a whole thing. But yeah, we're so glad to be on.
And I think that Brianna and Marky, that these are my extra family. This is my other baby and son down here. You want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name's Bree, and I'm with you, Champagne. I'll probably shed some tears because it's been a while, or probably some time that I've been able to like really talk about this whole experience of having our pretty huge. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited to be on this call. We have a 5-month-old baby. He just got 2 teeth in. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, fun, and then also some lows. But yeah, thank you for having us.
Yep. Yeah. Everything she said, I agree with it.
Smart man. Smart man.
So we're gonna dive in. We're gonna dive into this conversation. So I want to unpack this, and I want to unpack it in layers. And before I actually do that, I think that Chris, no, I think that what I'm gonna do, I want to read something, if that's all right with y'all. Um, so let me get ready to share this. During the pandemic, I need y'all to know that this baby girl of mine, ooh, we was trying to figure it out, y'all. I want y'all to know we was trying to figure it out. And because we were trying to figure out how are we going to do this? How is this going to work? Um, we decided that what we were going to do in order to ease some of the tension, because she's my second oldest child, she's my second born child out of 4 children. Each one of my children, with the exception of my son, we ain't gonna talk about him. That's a whole anti-black conversation, part 1, 2, and 3 in itself. So we're gonna leave him out. So, but my daughters, I've been there for each one of my daughters at the birth of their children. I have seen every grandchild birth. I was the coach. I am extraordinaire. And here this one comes. Finally, she gonna have a baby. Ooh, I was so excited. Oh my God. We were excited. California was excited. California was excited. And then COVID hit, and everything was shut down, and I couldn't get to her. So I'm doing good just talking about it, because I promise you, I went into a fit and a tizzy. So all of the different things that were going on, what we were trying to figure out is how to talk about it, you guys. We couldn't figure out how to talk about it. How are we going to talk about the fact that, the elephant in the room here, every conversation, my baby is having a baby. She needs me and wants me there, and I can't get to her. And the conversation it was so much tension that it was difficult for us to even navigate through that, because we still have to keep our wits about us on a day-to-day basis, right? So we decided that we journal. We're a journaling family. We crazy like that. So we decided that we were going to write about it. And we created a chronicle, Coronavirus Chronicles. It was more therapeutic. And so I'm going to read the first one that my baby wrote. 37 weeks pregnant with newborn blues. So yeah, I know we've discussed this at length, but it's still taking me some time to wrap my head around it. I'm giving birth in 4 to 5 weeks, and you won't be here. I know the circumstances impairing your ability to travel, and I understand the need to mitigate risk, but I'm still disappointed. My doctor told me this week that my partner and I will both be tested for COVID-19 when I arrive at the hospital for delivery. If he tests positive, he will be asked to leave the premises and I will have to do this alone. She claims I can have someone on standby should the worst case scenario occur. But who else do I have out here? All of my family are in California. I did not plan on my first blog entry being so gloomy. There is so much to be thankful for, and I am truly excited about what the future holds and grateful to have such a loving and caring partner who attends to my every need. But there you have it. I'm disappointed. I'm anxious. I'm nervous. And man, oh man, do I want my mommy here with me during the most pivotal moment in my life. 29 years old, and I'm still wish I could curl up under you in bed with my thumb in my mouth. Well, oh well, and this too shall pass, right? Yes, Lord. Let's talk about what this pandemic has cost you all. Champagne, let me kick it off with you. When we started this, where were you at?
I mean, for first time mothers, there's already a lot of anxiety because there's so many unknowns. You're trying to navigate through, pregnancy. Your hormones are crazy high. You're just scared about everything. And so that's typically the time where you lean on the people who ground you and the people who give you peace. Not that that's not your partner, but they're nervous too. We're all trying to figure this out together. So the pandemic did take from me my ability to have my support system around me. And one of the most difficult times of my life, having a baby is scary. Having a baby is life-changing. It changes you. You're not the same. And to not be able to prepare for that with the people who have gone through it before, the people who love you most, the people who are excited for you, is devastating. So I very much so didn't realize that I am still hurting about it, but it's something that it's a hurt that I actually have to heal from. And God knows, I guess, how long that'll take.
Died from the virus, never able to hold her child.
Any of you guys resonate with that? Anyone else have an experience that? I see the Scoggins family, sis. Come off the mute, babe. Are you on mute?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I definitely relate. I'm from New Jersey. So my mom being all the way in New Jersey, I'm really close to my mom and my little brother. So when I first found out that I was pregnant, my heart was already like aching because it was like the middle of the pandemic. And I just knew she wasn't going to be able to make it. And so just that whole process, it was extremely heartbreaking. I did cry a lot, because I was pregnant and emotional. But we tried our best to FaceTime every day, I tried my best to even call her after doctor's appointments and send her pictures of the sonogram and stuff like that. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough, even down to just trying to plan intimate things, knowing that she could not be there. So part of me didn't even want to have a baby shower because my mom would be there. And yeah, even at the gender reveal, I was like, I don't really want to do anything big because my mom can't be here and I don't want her to see us here and she's all the way over there. And, it was just a lot of emotion. So yeah, I definitely relate to what Champagne was saying. It is tough. It still is a little tough. I was glad I was able to see my mom, though. She was able to come in July for a week. So I was like, thank God for that. And she got to meet our daughter. But yeah, it was definitely rough.
I wanted to jump in. I know it made me think, Elder Tony, you were talking earlier that you were there for all the other births except for this one, right? I thought for my mom and for my mother-in-law as well, too. They couldn't be there for Jordan, right? And and it was tough because that's both of their first grandchild. You know what I mean? So they got to be in the same city. You know, we were in San Jose at the time, but they couldn't, you know, come in the hospital or have that shared experience, you know, myself and with Brianna. So even from the grandparent standpoint, I could see how that's extremely tough as well. You know what I mean? To be so close, but so far at the same time.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, Chris. I tried to because when she went in and stay off of mute, Marky. When she went in, we're gonna talk about that video camera in the hospital experience. We'll go there. But yeah, I can't even go there right now. Marky?
You know, I'm hearing these testimonies, and I'm just like, there's like, you know, every single time. I mean, I have a bunch of nephews. Well, I have like 3 or 4 nephews, right? And you know, I was just like, every time they were born, my mom was there, right? And helping out, you know, my brother's significant others. So when you're like, you know, you guys are talking about how, you know, how much that support system you need. It's like, I've always seen it, you know, and crazy or not, you know, crazy enough or not, like in the Latino cultures, like men tend to back away from this. This is more of the mom and the grandmother type of thing. And so, you know, is one thing, it wasn't, you know, I know the question is cost, but like, I think one thing that I had gained was cool is just to be the fact that like changing that cycle of mentality, like, you know, I'm the dad, and I mean, her mom can't be there, my mom can't be there, so I got to step it up, whether or not, because like, if I can tell you, like, I thought I was gonna pass out and faint because I don't do well with blood, and so when I'm watching all this coming, you know, everything coming to fruition and seeing my baby boy come out, like God gave me like this strength that I never knew I had, because I was fainting on little things like blood, but seeing a whole baby come out, I was just like, whoa, like I was, you know, so it was definitely one of those experiences for me, for sure.
Ooh. And Bree, what was it like for you? What were your expectations? This is your first baby, so like, what did you imagine it would be as opposed to what it was?
I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like my pregnancy was so great. Like everything, it was going good. Even in the pandemic, I was still able, you know, thankfully to have my mom. It wasn't until we got COVID, and that's when everything changed for me afterwards. Like
Mm.
I remember, like, you know, just seeing my mom through the window. Like that was so tough, you know. Couldn't take a lot of pictures. Um, Holidays, like we weren't really around each other, and I give it to you guys because your guys' families all across, you know, um, the world. But it was just like I had my mom there, but I couldn't hug her, I couldn't touch her, and um, I wanted to have a baby shower, you know, and I couldn't have that. And so we tried to make it as legit as possible through Zoom and everything. And that was that was tough. But I think when Champagne was talking, it took me to a place where I remember after we had got COVID and then I had the baby, I had a lot of fear and anxiety. Like I didn't really want to be around as much as I love my mom. I'm so close to my mom. As much as I wanted to be next to her, I'm thinking, like, what if, you know, who knows if I have a little sister, she's, you know, and all this, and I want to keep my newborn baby safe and, like, you know, don't want to expose them to too much. And so they would wear the mask, and they would bring us things. But I remember that first week, I was struggling so hard with just trying to feed my baby. And they were telling us that he's losing weight, you know, all this stuff. And finally, my mom came to the house to bring us a pump machine. And I remember seeing her, and I was just already like, I was just having a tough time. And I just said, I need my mom, and I hugged her. And that was huge for me because, like I said, I was just living in that constant fear after we had gotten COVID. And yeah, so my expectation was just to have my mom with me through everything, you know, have her in the hospital room, all of that. So, yeah.
So I do want to ask the question. And Bree and Marky, you all had COVID during pregnancy. Um, I can't even imagine what that was like. So, can you guys, if you would, just, I know we've talked about it. I was also, Bree, you and we talked a little bit. I would, and I know, baby girl, I know. And let me say this now. And I don't go here a lot, but I know who I have in this space. There is healing in this taking place for all of us because it's real what's happened, and you can't not be afforded the opportunity to talk about what it is that you've experienced, because talking through things is also healing and therapeutic as well. So I want to create that space for us to be able to love on one another, heal together. Um, we're praying one for another already, so we know we got that. Okay. Um, and tears are healing too. We don't have to be afraid of emotions, and we don't have to be afraid of our tears. I'm speaking from experience, you all. I done cried ocean, in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So Bree, Marky, go ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll start it off because, like, just to be honest, like breaking it down, I'm the one that gave it to her. And so how it worked out was, I've been working so I'm an educator for Stockton Unified. So we've been teaching home that whole pandemic, the whole situation, everything. So so Friday before we were gonna go on that week Thanksgiving break and celebrate with the family, I was like, let me go get a few gifts, and then I wanted to get something for my grandma, and so I got the gift. I dropped it off because I dropped it off at my mom's, because even during that time, my grandma was struggling too with the housing situation with rent. I know we were already dealing with that. Like my grandma at 77 years old was being evicted. And so that was a whole nother ballgame. So, we were already struggling because just everything going on, the pandemic. So we're just trying to figure out ways to help. And so I was like, you know what? Like they're technically homeless right now. So let me get some like blankets and let me get some sweaters so that they can be warm. And so I went to the store to get that. I didn't know where they were at because their phones were off. So I left it at my mom's so that, she stops by during the day over there. And so I dropped it off. I was with my mom, gave her a hug and a kiss, just there for like 10, 15 minutes max, and my little nephews were in there too. And so I came back home, and that was like on a Monday of that week. And then Friday, going on to break, I was just feeling sick. And, I automatically thought, all right, I'm going to just keep myself isolated from Brie, and because she was already pregnant. She was already 4 or 5 months already at the time. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just keep myself isolated and all that. But as you know how contagious this is, she got it, and just from that time forward, it really had an effect on us mentally, physically. Uh, like, you could tell from the way we looked, the way we talked, everything. We were just depleted. And I know you felt through the worst because she was also carrying our baby, and it was just, her energy was consumed with that as well. I don't know if you want to get on that.
I think the hardest part is when they told us we had to isolate from each other.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like hoping, like, okay, like I was so hoping it was just the flu, right? But it wasn't. But he had isolated, so I was sleeping in the living room on the couch. I remember my back was hurting, everything. And then I was even trying to get my mind off of it while he was in the room and stuff. And then a couple days later, that's when I started to feel symptoms. And then I got tested, and sure enough, I think as soon as I found out, that's when the reality of like coming to terms with it was the hardest part, because I wanted to believe that it was just a cold. I wanted to believe it was just a flu, and it wasn't, And so I remember, my parents were bringing us air mattresses, groceries, and stuff. But it was tough because the first couple of days, it was just like I remember waking up with a really bad sore throat. And then every day the symptoms are progressing and progressing. And then on my worst day, where I was having shortness of breath, my fever was high. I mean, my body was aching. I had nothing, no energy, nothing. And I thought I was going to go to the hospital, but the only thing that kept me in peace was the baby, because he was moving. He was moving so much, and he was so active that day. And so, man, I was just so grateful for that, because if not, I feel like I probably would have had more anxiety. But I think mentally it was harder for us because we were also separated until finally we were like, oh wait, we both have it. Why are we still in separate rooms?
Yeah.
And so that's when we finally
we kind of came together and all that. I think one of the biggest struggles I was facing too was just the fact that I knew that I gave it to her. The fact that I was the one responsible. I was the one that made the trip to go out, this and that. And I know we do things not intentionally to hurt our loved ones, or and we actually do things to help others, but in that there's a risk, and it's even in goodness and good deed, the risk carries on. And I felt responsible, and because I knew what it did physically, but even to today, what it does mentally, because we still battle this mental shackles that we have, because sometimes we still fear to gather with a certain amount of folks, or we fear to even bring folks over, this and that, just because of the experiences that we had and all that. And it's not healthy, but I feel that, let God continue to work in us, because it's starting to break little by little. Because man, that was one of the biggest things for sure.
That's heavy, and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to work through. One of the things that comes to my mind is for a mother. So with the fathers, I don't know, because I'm not a father. So your role, guys, how do you resonate with what Marky is saying in regard to what are things that you guys are doing to try to protect your wife, your partner, and your children?
Yeah, it's tough, especially with the type of person that I am personally. Like, I have to get out and do something. Like, if the gas is on E, I gotta go to the gas station. Like, I want to get out and just go places. But during the pandemic, I had to be on high alert and think of creative ways on how to, be a provider but still be in the house. So even with our church, before the pandemic, I started my ministry with the church full time. So now that the church is shut down and things are happening, how do I make sure that everything is, protected, keeping my ear to the news? How do we really safeguard this? I mean, we get in Amazon packages, spraying them down with alcohol and letting them quarantine. And I'm going through the whole nine. So it was a big thing. And when Marky and Bree shared with us that they had COVID, it really hit home because Danae and Bree were basically sharing the same experience. I remember me and Marky, we were just having coffee, and I was like, Marky, I got to tell you something. And then he was like, Leon, I got to tell you something too. And he was like, you go first. I was like, no, I'm going to go first. So then he said, Bree's pregnant. I said, Danae's pregnant. And it was just full circle. So we really, and even before that, we were at each other's homes having game night. We were tired of the pandemic. We were like, I'm not sick, you're not sick. And then, we were going through this experience, and to see our friends actually go through this, it really put things into perspective. Like, wow, it's actually close to home, because no one in my immediate family had gotten it. So they were the closest people that we knew to have it. So once that took place, I made sure to get back on high alert because I was getting a little lenient. I was like, okay, like we got to make sure it happened because it could be any one of us. But by the grace of God, we didn't get it. I honestly think that I had it in December of 2019 because I was extremely sick, and I kept calling Kaiser and they kept asking me if I've been on a plane. I'm like, why you keep asking me that? I'm sick. But I think it was something like that. But yeah, it was tough. My biggest thing was I don't want to allow anything in the pregnancy to be complicated, when she's giving birth, because, actually, I'm lying. I'm so sorry. I had a cousin, 21 years old, Kiana, who was pregnant. She was 6 months pregnant, went into the hospital because of COVID. And unfortunately, she had preeclampsia, and they delivered the baby while she was 6 months pregnant. And unfortunately, she passed away, and she was only 21 years old. So that was another big shock for me. Like, I was talking to her on the phone, on FaceTime on a Monday, and literally on Thursday, she passed away. And it was such a tough time. But yeah, it was hard, but we got through it.
Yeah, this gonna be. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry another river or stream. After this, I was gonna share a video, but I'm not going to. I've decided not to, because we're seeing a little bit more of that. Of moms that have been impacted by COVID and that have died from COVID, however, unable to unable to make it through. Bree, mama. It's good to see you. Oh my gosh. And I'll be stalking your page. Oh my goodness. So it's good to see you. And it's just good to see you. I'm all emotional all over the place. So just seeing you and your smile made me another level of emotions. I miss you.
Thanks. Love you, Sister Tony.
I haven't seen the baby. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Chris, introduce your beautiful wife.
Yeah, most definitely. So this is my wife, Brianna Cannon, the mother of my child, the love of my life, the cross to my T. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on too. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I want to give a plug for my son-in-law because I need y'all to know his name is Navi, and he may not be on the screen, but I need y'all to know he is fully present. He is amazing, and I could not have hand selected an individual that had the mental and emotional capacity to deal with the crazy for my baby. He is
the right one.
Okay,
okay. I didn't know if you were going to kick
it.
Kind of touch on what both families had said just about the anxiety part. I think that was one of the bigger challenges just throughout the entire pregnancy and post-pregnancy, right? Postpartum, everything. The unknown of not knowing if you've come in contact with it, if anyone you've been around has come in contact with it. I mean, we're cutting ourselves off from people as much as possible, but you got to work, and some people's work demands that they have to either go into the office or go into wherever that job is. You have to shop, you got to get food, you got to, there's certain things you have to do. You got to go to the doctor's appointments, which I didn't realize were going to be so frequent. But there's all these things you have to do. And so in coming in contact with people, the fear of the unknown, and then the paranoia that comes with that and everything we're doing, like the Scoggins family said, washing down Amazon packages. And I mean, literally wiping down every piece of grocery we got from the store. I don't care if it's, fruit, like I'm wiping down and scrubbing down everything before you're going to put it in the refrigerator. Like, the fear of coming into contact with the virus, and there was a lot of unknowns when I was pregnant, because it hadn't been declared a pandemic yet. So, we were still deeming it like an overseas problem. The US hadn't really been honest and transparent about their numbers and the amount of cases that we had come in contact with at that point. So it wasn't until March, late in my pregnancy. And the interesting thing is I was able to have my baby shower in California. And as soon as we got home, they declared the global pandemic and, started cutting things off and putting in the the safety guidelines, and you can't travel this, not necessarily that you can't travel, but like not recommending that you do these things. And it was shut down for a while, actually, where, like they didn't want anybody leaving their homes. You guys remember that, the freeways were like empty. It was just, it was crazy. So one of the biggest things that I had to deal with, in addition to having to go to doctor's appointments alone and, my partner being able to drive me there and then having to wait in the parking lot and not being able to fully experience that with me. Every appointment I went to, I was alone. Everything I did, I was alone. And then just trying to bring him along after the fact and break down what was going on. And, well, you couldn't see the video. They didn't let me show you the sonogram video, but here's the picture, it was a very horrible experience, and not having because it's my only experience, I don't have anything else to compare it to. But when we tell people stories, and they hear about what was going down, like they're just like, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you stayed sane. I don't know how you, I don't know. It was by the grace of God. I mean, I stayed in contact with my family as much as possible, FaceTime, calling, things like that. But the unknown of the virus, the unknown of the effect that it would have on the baby and on me, Bria, I don't know what I would do had I got COVID. I already was dealing with so much anxiety and trying to keep myself sane and calm, because that can impact very negatively the pregnancy. So had I got it, and then I would have been terrified. So just props to you and your husband for getting through that. I'm so glad that you guys came through it and you're all right. Because, we were all on social. We were all reading the news. We were all trying to figure out what this looks like together. And so the unknown of how this is going to affect me and my unborn child, how's this going to affect me when we give birth? How's it going to affect my milk supply? Like crazy.
I wanted to touch on that too, because at the time I was working for a rental car company in San Jose, and so I had to be extra cognizant because as the cars came in from people traveling, right? You know what I'm saying? I don't know where these people were. You know what I mean? I don't know what these people were doing, and so I had to be really mindful to when I even went inside the car to get the gas miles or whatever, right? I'm all gloved up, switch gloves every time. I don't take my phone out of my pocket. I try to stay as far as possible from them because I don't want to bring that home to Brianna or whatnot. Because that'd be a horrible thing. And then I thought about what Champagne just said too when going to the hospital by yourself. Funny enough, that's kind of when it really hit me, the fact of it's not going to be a normal pregnancy. Because when I thought I was going to go to the doctor too. I didn't get to see no ultrasounds or nothing until we drove to Modesto to see that 3D ultrasound. Like when she was like 7-8 months pregnant at that time. Mm-hmm. I had never seen Jordan besides the pictures or whatnot. So that's when it really hit me a lot.
And I was only able to record my first visit, but after that, I wasn't able to record. I was only able to get like the sonogram pictures. I know I had one ultrasound where they did like the anatomy scan, and like Jordan was doing all kind of movements. Like it was so cool to see. And the technician, she told me like right at the gate, like, I know you're here by yourself. I know you want to record. I know you want to FaceTime, your significant other, but we cannot allow it. So after this, I will give you all the pictures. And I'm just like, oh, it's just not the same. So literally as she's telling me that, and like I'm putting on the gown, I'm in full blown tears. And like the lady who I don't know is rubbing my back. Like, I know. And I'm like, you telling me, but you telling me in the same breath, I can't call my husband who is not here with me to show him what's going on. But you rubbing my back telling me, okay, ma'am, go ahead, do your scan. So it was hard. It was tough. Absolutely.
I do, Chris, man. That's what I'm telling Bree. I'm telling her, I'm like, we're having another baby because I didn't get to experience those in the
straight up, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I get mine head, you know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you, Lord.
I'm like, I'm a participant father. They gonna see this father, you know.
It's Hollywood. Hollywood though. They make it seem like this is like don't get me wrong, it was beautiful FaceTime, but I wanted to get to experience it, be in there to hear the first heartbeat. And we did get them do the face. No, we didn't do the FaceTime. It was after until they left the office. But it was like one of those things where it's just never the same. And as a dad, you just were like, well, how come I don't get to experience that, And we never know what we honestly, I don't know what the world's gonna look like moving forward from now. Like this pandemic has shaped our society so differently. I don't know, right? And so like even I'm joking around like having a baby right now, but like just the idea, like we don't even know what the hospitals and what the doctors are going to do moving forward with sonograms, because there's still babies being born or being made and all this. And so I'm curious what those families feel now, because it's like knowing that, hey, we're already the vaccine's out, but yeah, I can't still be in there with my significant other. It's like, man, it's got to be an effect too, because I know it was that right there. That was a big cost. I didn't think about it until Chris brought it up. I know Tony asked that about that question. What was the cost? I was like, nah. That was a huge cost actually, because I was really bummed out because I was in the car waiting. There's only so much social media I can intake, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. Like, I want to be inside. I want to hear the heartbeat. I want to know what's going on. I want people to know that's my baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Marky, do you know that we live now? See, and I love that this is coming out because this is tapping on a lot of different nerves, you guys. We live in a society that takes for granted that fathers don't care. That you guys should be in the car in the parking lot, that, and that's no big deal. And so this right here is also, just really, really uncovering that from that anti-Black space that, no, you know what? These men want to be there and experience this, with their families, with their loved ones. And so that's what I'm hearing from you guys.
Yeah, the fact that that your partner not being in there for the delivery was even an option is still a problem for me. The fact that, had he tested positive, even if he didn't have COVID, there was a point where my doctor wasn't sure. All these rules were changing, all these protocols. They didn't have like the infrastructure in place to deal with COVID. And so they're rolling out all these different guidelines while I'm pregnant. And I'm trying to figure out what support am I going to be able to have the day of. And they weren't sure if he was going to be able to stay there. It was to the point where I was talking to like doulas and people like that, trying to figure out what are my rights? Is this allowed? I'm going through trainings to determine, how I should be treated and the rights that I have when I do give birth. People telling me like, you can literally go to a hospital and stand outside and, and go through your contractions, and they'll have to take you in with your partner. Like if the hospital that your doctor is at will not allow your partner, go to another hospital. Just crazy, crazy, crazy things. Thankfully, that did not have to happen. And they allowed him not only to stay for the delivery. Initially, he was going to only be able to stay for the delivery and then again have to go home. But my doctor, or maybe it was the nurses, someone showed us kindness, and he was able to come with me to the postpartum wing and stay there with me the 2 days while we recovered before they let us go home, because the man would have been in the parking lot. He would likely slept there. It's just the type of individual that he is. He's super protective of me and extremely paranoid about and protective about his son. I don't know how that would have impacted him. He's a very like introverted person. He doesn't express his feelings all the time, but I know that would have, had he not been able to be there with us during that process and experience that, I think that would have messed with him in a way that, I still wouldn't be able to fully unpack right now.
Yeah, it was really heartbreaking. I mean, for me, in my generation, I'm like the first to be married, the first to have a family structure how I have it. So my father, we're like super cool now, and he's like amazing grandfather, but he wasn't that man to my mom. They were never married. They had me when they were 17 years old. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to break the cycle, be the first young man in my family to get married first, have a baby, and everything was going in order. And then, I'm gonna be at every doctor's appointment. And then when it, didn't happen, it was very heartbreaking. And then I was hearing so many things online about mothers going into the hospital and something crazy happening. So I'm already on high alert. Like, I can't be there. I need you to text me when you get in there, text me what's going on, because I don't want this to be another situation to where it's like you're in there now, something went wrong and I can't come in there. I can't know what's going on. So it was very heartbreaking. I have a cousin right now who is pregnant and about to deliver, and she found a loophole on getting her partner up in there. And the loophole was that she needs him for emotional support. Yes. So I didn't think to say that. So now y'all let y'all folks know, just act a little crazy. I need them for emotional support.
Let's common sense. I mean, we all needed emotional support. Come on. I love it though. But like, that should be a given that we need that support. Right. Goodness gracious.
It should be a given. That is ridiculous. And so there's two things that I jotted down. One, Champagne said, so the timing, we have different the timings that are hitting here. Champagne, when you came down for the, and Chris, I'm going to tag you in here on this, so I need you to really lean in on this. When Champagne came down for her baby shower, March of 2020. I don't even know if y'all know the timing. I am a community organizer. So before it hit y'all, I promise you it hit us. Right, Chris? In fact, it done hit us times 10. Look, Bree, you laughing, girl, It done hit us times 10. So you going to the grocery store, average people, y'all can go to the grocery store. Me and Chris is like, well, you better put on a mask. No, you better put on two.
Right.
You better go to the grocery store today because they about to shut everything down tomorrow. So for my family, they're like, Mom, you're nagging me. You're getting on my nerves. You're this. But at the end of the day, I need you to know we are in spaces where we're getting stuff 10 times and 10 steps ahead of y'all. So at this point now, 10 steps ahead of y'all, global pandemic done hit. I know that the people that were sick in November and October had COVID. I already know that. The government just ain't said it yet. And so when you come down in March, I'm a nervous wreck.
I remember that. And I was trying not to I didn't know. It wasn't a thing. I don't know, we weren't calling it. It had a name, and it was big in other places, but it wasn't like a thing in the US yet until the end of March, until after the baby shower. But I remember you were being super paranoid and you didn't want me eating out of shared dishes. And I was just like, what? I can't have this chocolate covered strawberry. I can't eat these peanuts. Okay. I mean, I get it now, but yeah.
She would break plates and I would take her stuff. I was sneaking, right? She would have her stuff and I would walk behind and I'd be taking it. They was doing games and stuff. It was 1,000 people as far as I was concerned in the house, and everybody was a candidate to have. And I'm looking like, oh God, it ain't enough pleading the blood of Jesus. It wasn't enough, Bree. I mean, and y'all know I'm a prayer warrior, Brianna, for real, right? Pastor Leon, don't play with me when it comes to my kids. I promise you, I was like, ooh, I'm praying and pleading blood and going outside because I got my own anxiety. Going outside, look, I'm holding my breath in the house and then going outside. Okay, go back in. Okay, ooh, 10,000 people. Oh, Jesus. Oh, they keep coming. Because right after she left, bam, they shut everything down.
Yeah.
And it was an explosion of cases. And nobody could go nowhere. And all my prayer is, God, please don't let don't let this have been the thing that exposed her and Nabi to COVID. But when they got down there, so Brianna, you had COVID during your pregnancy. Champagne, what do you do when you get COVID after the pregnancy?
Oh, right. So, and I mean, because of who we are, we did not get tested, but I do believe we have it. We can't say for sure it was COVID. I don't know. But yeah, after we had the baby, he was he wasn't a year yet, but maybe 10, 11 months. And we felt like hell. And because we weren't sure, we wanted to take the best precautions. So, me, I'm doing research. I'm calling his doctor's office to see, I think we may have come in contact with this. How do we move forward? They're telling us to, separate as much as possible, wear your mask when you're feeding him. So it was weird. Like there wasn't a point where I didn't sleep in the room with him, but like his father was occupying the living room. I was in the room as far away from him as I could be while he's in his crib. I'm wearing a mask. I'm coughing my lungs out. Like it was really bad. And more so I was just terrified that I was going to expose him to something. I'm washing my hands excessively. I have hand sanitizer. I have the antibacterial wipes. I'm doing everything I can to keep my bacteria and whatever's coming from me away from him. But I don't know if there's a way to really do that. So honestly, I was just praying the majority of the time that God would keep him covered, because I wasn't sure there's so many unknowns. I didn't know how it would affect babies. Like, were they a part of like the high risk group? What's the impact for kids? I mean, he didn't have any respiratory issues. Thank God he was a healthy delivery. So that was like something good to go off of. But the unknowns were what got me. And so we were doing everything we could to quarantine to some degree, but there was no way to separate yourself from a baby. There's no way to do that. And again, we don't have that type of support system out here. There's no one out here I felt comfortable sending him to. He was not going anywhere outside of my presence, So it was me and it was his father, and we're gonna ride this out. And that's exactly what we did.
How long?
Like about 2 weeks, couple weeks. Yeah.
Okay. So now, y'all, we here, fast forward today. Now we're dealing with Delta variants. You got vaxxers and you got anti-vaxxers. You just got all of this stuff. Oh my God. I mean, Lord have mercy. It's intense. You got Pastor Leon, you a pastor, and running the church and stuff, and Chris, you out there organizing for change and pushing stuff. Marky, you a teacher. Champagne, you is in the corporate world, doing stuff. And so how y'all doing it? How are you being a parent in the middle of a global pandemic?
I'm gonna be honest. I was hoping, as a district and as a state, we looked at this second rise and be like, you know what, like this isn't the best idea. Because I don't know if nobody knows this in here, but in my first period of class, I had 4 students go out. Just one class, I had 4 students go out. Now, it wasn't told to me that they had a COVID or not. They just went out. That's as far as much information as I'm getting. So that's nerve-wracking, number one, right? So it's like, okay, yes, we're not in close contact. I'm responsible not to be in their face. I'm in a good distance. I wear my mask, they wear their mask, but they're still sitting down in the same space. And I'm like, okay, I'm going home to my baby. I'm going home to my wife, and I have to worry about this, because there's still a narrative saying, hey, let's not get this vaccine because we're losing our rights. But if I have to worry about my well-being and my family's well-being, then it goes deeper than just your rights. Now you're just being selfish. And so now I'm still struggling with that. Just thank God that I had some time that I'm now on leave. So I used my paternity leave. So I've been gone since August 16th. People are already giving me some nag about it because they're like, oh, well, but it's like, what, I'm thankful because I just don't know, right? The cases are still rising. And the fact that when I took my leave and these students are going out and missing days and all that, I'm like, all right, this is probably the best. Let me come back after October and let me just make sure that things calm down. But it was a mental thing, right? Like I had some colleagues go out too that had gotten it too. And I was in close contact with them. Just luckily enough, I wasn't able to, I didn't get it, but it was just like one of those things where it plays with your head over and over again, because there's certain things that bring me back to COVID times. It's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And don't tell me why, because it just those. I was in quarantine, so that's all I was watching on HBO, and just a bunch of feelings of sick. So I was feeling so sick. So I was like, these nectarines. I was like, I don't want to go back to these times again. I don't want to be stuck to TV watching TV because I'm isolated from my family. I don't want to go back to that. So I'm glad I took that time and that leave, just because I was just like, I don't want to have that experience again. And I don't wish that upon anybody. I don't even care, even to individuals that aren't pregnant or still single, like, it's not worth it. You know what I mean? How do we move forward if, we're still living the same way that we were in the past? So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I didn't know that you had to take off or what have you. So I do applaud you for that. Say your son's name and his age.
My son's name is Josiah Peace Rojas. He is 5 months. He'll be 6 months on the 23rd of this month. He is our little blessing. He is a character of himself already. So it's just
his name also means, like, it's crazy because we had named him before, right before we had gotten COVID, everything. But then we come to learn that Josiah means God is healed. And then peace is what I felt when he was like moving so much inside of me. But it's crazy because I remember feeling like I don't throw the term anxiety loosely, right? Like, I've never experienced this ever. I looked up symptoms, all this, and it's exactly what I had. And I remember doctors telling me he's going to be born small. He's going to be underweight. He's, all this. They were monitoring me, everything. They told me that I was most likely going to be going to labor early, all this feelings. But yeah, so it's just amazing how his name is just like really came into fruition. That means God is healed, because I feel like God healed me through him inside my womb and all that. Yeah.
And
I love that.
He came out fully healthy too. 7 pounds, 2 ounces.
He's
7 pounds, 2 ounces. Pretty big baby. You should have seen. I mean, it was one of those experiences. Like, usually, Hollywood makes it seem like it's so quick and easy, but it's not. Like, that baby came out about 30 hours later, and literally, he came out of the womb with his eyes open, like, what is this world? You took me out of my comfort zone.
What in the world's going on up in here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was one of those, like, okay, he's here. And so, it was real.
So the last thing I wanted to say on that, Mark, is then it sounds like the decisions that you're making in regard to, your career and what you're doing are centered around Josiah.
100%. 100%.
Okay.
He, I was fortunate. So, I mean, I'll share, like, even though we got COVID was a blessing in disguise as well. We were able to sell our old home. We were able to buy our new home where we currently live, and where we saw God, like, how we ended up with that home was a blessing. Like, that's a whole nother story, because we were denied. We were denied on my birthday. On my birthday, they denied. Say, they went with another deal. That was the day she found out he was pregnant. 2 days later, she told me. 2 weeks later, they said they dropped the deal with the other person. So we were able to get that home. So everything was just flowing with just blessing after blessing. And then, Josiah becoming our blessing. And so I was just like, at the end of the day, is like, now as a father, it's like, I'm making these decisions, like with God, with all these blessings that God has given us, is like, okay, how do I be responsible with this and all that? So, being an intent, number one, my job, they say, like, your first job is being an educator, but no, my job is being a husband and a father. Like, that's at the end of the day. And I'm trying to be that intentful father. Like, don't get, like, Chris, Leon, and I know, and Navi's probably listening and all that. But the reality is, we're fathers, but we also need our, like, we have to, like, kind of be like, all right, we're not perfect either. There's some times where I catch myself making a lot of mistakes, or even that, but it's like, man, we got to grow and continue to learn from this. Like, I still have a problem sometimes when it's late at night and I'm trying to put him to bed and he's fighting it. So, we watch a little bit of TV, but he's not watching it. He's like kind of looking the other way. I'll just be honest, but it helps soothe him a little bit, and it makes the thing process. So everybody has their own process, but I just know that this learning thing has just been so amazing in this time of leave. Like I've learned so much. I've been home with the milestones. Like he's rolling over, he's doing all these little things, and I'm like, I would have been, teaching right now. I wouldn't been able to see this. And it's not that I don't love my job. I love my career, but it's just, this is something on a whole nother ballgame that I get to experience. And I know everyone else in here is experiencing as well. It's just, it's a beautiful thing to see,
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that too, because you hit it right on the nose. Like, we have to, be patient with ourselves, especially as like fathers or whatnot too. For my wife and I, we're first time parents, right? So, you know what I mean? A lot of things we don't know, you know what I mean? So we do have to practice that patience with ourselves and forgive ourselves too, because we know that we'll make a lot of mistakes. We're just trying to figure out the best way we can. Mm-hmm. But I also want to touch on something you asked earlier, Elder Tony, was, going forward, be parents now, right? And, it's a trip because a lot of people, were waiting for like Jordan to come, you know what I mean? Like for us to have a kid. So we have a kid, boom, in the pandemic, right? And so now, and we were in San Jose, but now we're back in Stockton, right? So boom, now we're back home. So now a lot of people are always like, well, how come, you don't bring your kid by to come see us, right? I'm like, why do you think I'm going to take my kid to come see you? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, first and foremost, I'm going to take my kid to see you. But second, I mean, we're in a pandemic, right? So you think I'm going to just be taking her out all the time, right? So, I have to draw that hard line with people though, right? Because now I'm the father and the husband. So I have to draw that hard line. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? We're not doing this. We're not doing that. You know what I mean? Because now it's for the safety and the health of my family, for sure.
Yes, wow. That's the same thing. And people already think, I think that I'm the nicest guy in the world. People think I'm mean. But when COVID happened, I was really like, no, it's not happening. And people were feeling some type of way. Why can't I come up? I don't know where you've been. I don't know where the people you've been around been. And it's just not happening. So it gave me license and a clearance to just be like, no, it's not happening. So I'm so thankful for that. But for me, it's been everyone is saying, like, we're not perfect and we're learning as we go. And especially us men, how we continue to provide with our different types of careers. Like me, being in ministry full time, I get calls, hey, in this state, we want you to come preach and we want you to come do that. So when the thick of COVID was happening, I had canceled everything. But now as things are trickling open a little bit, other opportunities are arising. So it's just, being wise, knowing when to take certain things, knowing when not. We did, make the decision through prayer to get vaccinated and have that happen. And it was just a lot of questions, with me traveling and things like that. What would be best to protect our family and our daughter? And we found out that through the antibodies from my wife, because she breastfeeds, it then all the nutrients and antibodies goes to the baby. So that was a plus. I was like, the baby's basically vaccinated because she breastfeeds. So she's good. She's vaccinated. I'm vaccinated. My wife's vaccinated.
Okay, so it sounds like you did some research, bro. Wow. So, and then I am gonna be wrapping up surrounding the question in regard to just the vaccination and how we're navigating through vaxxed and anti-vax. But before that, Champagne, did you have anything that you want to add? Just to the okay, now what?
Now what? So my now what is basically I'm ready for this to be over. And like, when is this going to be over? Like, is this the new normal? Are we going to get back to some semblance of normalcy? I am tired of having to question if I can go out. I'm a social person, and I've been on lockdown for a while now. I've been, trying to take the necessary precautions. But I want to be around people. I want to be around friends. I want my son to be able to have those social interactions. He hasn't been around a lot of kids. He's walking now. He's, starting to form gibberish sentences. I mean, I want us to have those normal experiences that other families got to take for granted. And I'm ready for this to be over. That's my what now is, are we going to ever turn a corner? Can I get back to the office? Can I get back to my happy hours? I'm in New York. There are blessings and curses about New York City, but I love where I work. I love being in Midtown. I love, entertaining clients. And can we get back to some sense of normalcy? That's where I'm at.
I did want to mention that before we go into this very last, just kind of round of conversation. Champagne, you were in New York. Chris and Bree, y'all was in.
We were in San Jose at the time.
So, like, demographically, during this pandemic, what were some of the Bree? What were some of the things that you were having to deal with? When it came to, because not only were you down there in San Jose, which is like, I mean, that's an area where most people, don't think that fat meat greasy. I'm being nice. That's what I'm saying. So you're around a lot of privilege. And a lot of privileged people that don't necessarily feel like what they're saying. My body, my right. So I don't need to wear a mask. I don't need to. You are in the thick of that. And not only are you in the thick of that, but you're also far away from Bree. And I know how close you are to your mama. So, Miss Maddie. So we didn't get to touch on that, and I want to make room for you to be able to touch on that. What in the world was that like for you, going through, just your very first pregnancy? It was a while. Y'all been married for a while, and so it's like, oh my God, you've gone through a lot of health changes, a lot of things in order to take care of yourself, and then bam, here you are. And this is a milestone that we can think of for Brianna, and everybody that love you is celebrating and dancing through the roof. Everybody pregnant with you, and you in the pandemic.
By myself. Well, with Chris.
Wait,
no, he was here. He was here.
Right.
Hey, we're about to leave the studio real quick. We'll have a talk.
No. He was here the whole time. It was sad. It was sad. It was depressing. Like you said, I'm very close to my mom, and she was here for majority of my pregnancy, but not like I would want her to be. I want you to be here every day. So it was depressing. And Miss Bree, you had mentioned about anxiety. I've never dealt with, anxiety or even really depression, but in this pandemic, being that it was our first child, I was depressed. I had anxiety about everything. Champagne, you touched on about the unknowns. Every time I went to the doctor, it was something different. I didn't, like you said, Champagne, you didn't know if your significant other was going to be able to be with you while you gave birth. I didn't know if Chris was going to be able to be with me either. He wasn't able to go to any of the appointments other than the appointment that we made for ourselves for outside 3D, but that was it. But as far as like my doctor's visits, he wasn't able to be there. So every time I went to the doctor, it was something new. As far as him being able to be there, if he was going to either be able to be there doing, the labor and delivery, but then even after I gave birth, was he going to be able to stay with me? So just the whole time I was just sad, because I wasn't able to be around really nobody or just scared to be around anybody because I didn't know, what was going on. I'm a social person too. I like to go out. I like to have, fun. Even during pregnancy, I want to go out to eat at least. Everything was shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm at home hungry and mad. I got to because I can't go out, go out to eat. So even that alone was, depressing. When you're pregnant, you want to eat everything. I'm craving corn dogs. I don't even eat corn dogs. I got to go to Walmart to go buy the box corn dogs because I can't go to, hot dog on a stick because they closed. So it was just all around. I had a good pregnancy, but I was sad because I wasn't able to be around my loved ones, as often as I would like because of the unknown. I didn't know what they was doing. I didn't know who you were around, who you were with. So we kind of just stayed, in our bubble. And then once Jordan got here, and we're 6 months in, and we still kind of, in our bubble because you don't know. You know, so people can feel, you know, how they want to feel, but at the end of the day, I want to protect my family. And that's just, you know, that's just what it is.
And I think that I want us to slightly segue there, and then I'll wrap us up. You guys, so I've got introverts and extroverts that are in this space. Champagne, you are extrovert extraordinaire. I mean, for real, like from birth, right? Hi, as a little kid, right? Can I have some? You want some? So she was like that kid talking to homeless people pushing carts with that smile. And that Bree, extrovert for sure. Chris, introvert. No, Bree, you're more introverted. Marky, the extrovert. So you've got that Pastor Leon, extrovert, his wife, introvert. So you've got this dynamic now in this space. For me, I'm going to tell you what was really, really difficult, and what still is difficult is that COVID has scared me. And I'm trying to figure out how to overcome the fear that has been instilled with me with COVID. I have been fortunate to have not been impacted by it. However, I have also been so up close and personal to those that have been impacted by it, to where these aren't fables and fairy tale stories for me. And I don't know, I just don't know. So whereas younger people are saying, oh, well, if I get it, I'll be fine. See, I don't know if I will. And so do I call that control? Do I call it, I don't know. That's a whole nother, conversation. But I feel like it has robbed me of so much. It's robbed me of so many hugs and kisses, and, and just so much of and it also has created tension in the family. And we have to, on purpose, talk through these tensions. Have you guys experienced that, as new parents, where you have these tensions? And I know the Scoggins typically, they're in transition to an appointment, and so they're still present. But Pastor Leon, has this created for you and your wife, or I would like to hear your wife's voice, Pastor Leon, you talking. But for her, has it created tensions in the family?
Absolutely. And she's shaking her head. We got it on speaker. She's listening in the other room. But it has definitely created some tensions, but very mild. But when we put things into perspective, people start to understand. And I know people have feelings privately that they won't say, of course, publicly, because listen, I'm like, hey, it is what it is. It's life or death. This is, the decisions we got to make. But it has definitely created a lot of tensions, people feeling excluded. Thankfully, her mom was very understanding as relates to everything. Her mom put forth the effort to say, no, I'm not flying down there because I want to protect my granddaughter. So thank God, at least on the parent spectrum, everybody was cool with everything. But it has created a lot of tension. Even for me, as a pastor, everybody feels so connected to the pastor and want to be involved and want to come to this event and all of my major moments, and they couldn't come. So I personally had to deal with it on that end, allowing, people to understand, like, hey, this is what we're deciding. And it was a whole another level of explanation that I had to give, because then we started to get into well, if you got faith, then we should be good. We are not operating in fear. So I had to really dissect that whole conversation with people in this season. And it's sad that COVID is dividing so many people, and I see it happening every single day, whether you wear masks, whether you don't wear masks, whether you're vaccinated, whether you're not. And I just, as a Christian, I don't believe that that's the heart of God, to divide. So my prayer is that, like you said, through more conversations, tensions will cease, and we'll all be able to, just respect each other and hear each other out.
Look, I said I want to call on everybody because all of y'all nodding and stuff. Champagne?
Oh, me next? Okay, I was taking notes.
You want to Bree? Look, I'm looking at faces, eyebrows. Okay, so I'll let you finish your notes. Bree?
Okay.
Listen, It was quite a few people who felt a way about us not bringing our baby out in the open or not allowing them to come into our space. So look, I'm trying to choose my words wisely. It was what it was. I drew that line. Chris drew that line. It's a lot going on. You know what I mean? We're in a whole pandemic. COVID is still running rapid. So no, you can't come over. I seen you on your social media and you out partying. So yeah, no, you cannot come over. And look, can you provide some proof of negative testing? That's just how I feel. You know what I mean? Like, this is my baby, my little precious baby who I have to protect. So I'm not about to play with nobody at all, period. So you can feel how you want to feel. And it makes me sad though, because Chris and I, this being our first child, we didn't get to celebrate like we wanted to.
Yeah.
And I was sad about it, but then I was just like, we'll have another one, because I'm not gonna put ourselves in harm or my child in harm's way just to make everybody else feel, loved and accepted. I just wasn't gonna do that.
And that doesn't mean and that doesn't mean that everybody isn't loved and accepted. Exactly. I think that's the difficult part that this is causing, is that it doesn't mean I don't love you. And it doesn't mean that I don't desire you to be a part of our lives. It means that I have to, and I have to do this, you guys. I'm going to frame it this way. My children, I had to make some very extreme decisions in order to protect my children from some extremely unhealthy generational behaviors that were taking place. And so I'm choosing my words carefully. In order to create an opportunity for them to actually just have a chance to not be raped, to not be molested, to not be beat, I had to make some real choices. And in doing that, I was labeled as you bougie, you stuck up, you think you better than, you think, all of that different stuff. All I wanted was to give my 4 treasures that God blessed me to bring into this world and at least have. And that meant that we had a small bubble, right, Champagne? We had a
very small bubble, very intimate bubble, and still is to this day. Yeah, I just jumping in from where you started, Mom. I feel like I've had a lot of tensions from the more broad with like friends and extended family to even within immediate family, and having to like my mom touched on earlier, talk through those. Like I understood her inability to come to New York for the delivery. First of all, no one was going to be there. We weren't sure if the father was going to be there. But I had to actively, daily, on multiple occasions, like operate in forgiveness and not hold any bitterness and like issues about the fact that even after Issa was born, he didn't meet his grandmother until he was 1. I had a problem with that because he met his aunt on multiple occasions. She took the risk and got on a flight and came out here and tested like crazy before she came and tested like crazy before she went home. But she took those risks to come and have, and see him and have the relationship and to help me and to just bring support. And I was so hurt and kind of at a loss for a moment as to why my mom wouldn't take those same risks, and then having to understand just her own health issues and her own, how she's in a higher risk bracket, and that's just not something that I should even put on her, as a requirement. So those types of tensions, even tensions between his father and I, when it comes to like, there are areas where I'm a lot more lax and where he's freaking paranoid, wash his hands. I don't want him people been stepping on these floors, and take your shoes off when you get in the house, put them up here. We ain't mopping the floors enough. Just, we got to keep COVID out, and I'm just like, what about his little immune system? He's not going to have an immune system because he ain't been exposed to nothing. So just tensions in that regard. Like, look, we got to find a happy balance here because I'm about to go crazy and I'm gonna cut you, so how we gonna So yeah, has there been tensions? Absolutely. And then the last thing was when I did finally bring him to California, it was at his first year mark. That was a very calculated decision that I made. The numbers were kind of coming down. Things were evening out a little bit, and I was desperate for him to see my mom. I was desperate to bring him home to me family. Like it was killing me. And honestly, I wanted to go home too. I love California, and even though I've been in New York for like 4 years, I go to California multiple times a year typically. So the pandemic has cut me off from what my life and my what gives me life and breath, and so it was over a year, like 2 years basically, that I didn't go to California, and then we finally were able to after he was born. And there were so many people that wanted to see him, and I had to be extremely thoughtful about who I brought him around, and had to be very, it sucks because I don't like being seen as like a bad person, or to hurt people in any way, but or to offend anyone in any way. But I did have to have those conversations, like, please, when we do come over, is it okay if we sit outside? Do you mind? Not do you mind, but I need you to wear your masks. Here's some hand sanitizer before you hold him. Actually, I'd prefer you don't hold him, like, depending on who it is. Like, it was a difficult time, but I felt like it was necessary, because there were certain people that I felt I wanted him to see and needed to see him. But even with that, I still was very cautious and had to be thoughtful about how we went about that, so that we were all safe, but especially Issa. So lots of tensions, and that's still the case because this is still going on.
Go ahead, Marky.
You go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it. Like everything you guys touched on, like yeah, and then it just makes me feel like I'm not alone. Like okay, like what I'm feeling or what it's validated, and so I think the tensions would come with us because we're like, okay, what are you okay with? What am I okay with? Okay, how do we like come together? But then also set this, like, I think if anything, this helped me to learn boundaries. So I come from a people pleasing environment, right? So like, what are they thinking? I don't want them to think we don't want to bring the baby around, or like, like he needs to see his grandmother, but like, have they been over here? It was just a lot, and I was just like, and I still struggle with it, but I'm better now. But I feel like I've learned boundaries because at the end of the day, I'm like, our son is what matters, and his health is what matters, and I can't people pleasing is just it's horrible. I hate it. But yeah, I feel like the tension has definitely been there.
I've noticed, and I don't know if everyone else has noticed, but my family, when we got married, we started so big, and as COVID happened, it just seemed like it started branching out family into family, and so it was like I've noticed that my circle that I was so intimate with has become smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in this space is a lot of times who I trust mostly, right? Yeah. And so I was trying to break out of that because it was like I still want to be able to meet, because a little bit had to do with, in my opinion, had to do with what was going on as a society, but also another was mental. So I was like, I need to still be able to say, hey, let's go see grandma, or let's go see your nana, let's go see this. But one thing, and I think I'm glad we were able to do it, is like my grandma, my Lita, that's Josiah's great grandma. And I said, in my life, that would be the biggest regret if they've never been able to meet, because that would have been on me. And a lot of that. So, I'm thankful for that, because that was like, it wasn't a tension, but it was more of like, it was just a memory I knew that I would have to have, and all that. So being able to take a picture with his great grandma is something that is like gonna stick around, because it's just, you just never know, right? And I think that's one of the biggest tensions, because it's like who we wanted to see, right? Like, I'm not here trying to say, let's go clubbing, let's do this and that, not that. But who do we want to see that we know, like, hey, like this is something that, we won't, God forbid, have forever. Like my grandma, she is a warrior, but it was hard to connect with her because at the end of the day, like she was, I really do believe when we had COVID, she had it too. And when she had COVID, because she was really sick at that time too, because she had gone to see my mom that same day I did when we got sick. That was number one. She's 77 years old. She was dealing with an eviction here in California where it was so bad here in Stockton. You remember, Tony? She has asthma.
Yeah.
And the fact that now she's still, in this time right now, and she is still walking around strong and still able to carry the baby, I was just like, wow, like this woman needs to see her great grandchild, because this is where the strength and love comes from. Like, if you want to talk about our roots and all that, like she was able to hold it down for all of us and still be the loving support for all of us. So I was just like, we have to, if we're gonna pick and choose who we want to see, God, she got to be like one of the top, like, for sure. So that was.
Hey, Elder Tony, I wanted to bring something up real quick. I know we only have a few minutes, but you said something earlier, and I wanted to expand on it a little bit more. You said that COVID scares you and whatnot, right? And I wanted to say I don't think COVID scares me as much as it did until like yesterday. I heard the story about. I'm not going to say too much about it, but it's pretty much the lady lied about having COVID and took her kid to the daycare, right? Mm-hmm. And so why I say that scares me is because Jordan's about to be going to daycare soon, right? So then it's like, are people even being honest, get vaccinated or not, whatever, but are people being honest about you having COVID and you still going out in public and taking your kids out in public and now you spreading it too? You know what I mean? So I don't think I got as scared as COVID until I heard that story yesterday. That really made me think like, wow, this is not a game.
That's terrifying.
COVID.
Yeah. What were you saying, Stephanie?
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, that's terrifying. You said that baby, it was the baby that held COVID, not the mother that dropped it off?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I didn't know babies could get COVID, so this is concerning to me on multiple levels.
The baby had, so what happened was the grandmother who picks the baby up had COVID, and she posted on social media that she had COVID, and the daycare provider seen it and basically went to the mother like, hey, what's going on? And so the mom was like, well, I tested negative, so I thought the baby was okay. And so the daycare provider was like, well, no, I would like you to go get the baby tested as well. And the baby had already been, in the daycare around all the other kids, and it came back. The baby tested positive for COVID as well. So the daycare had to be shut down, and then everybody had to go be tested.
Yeah.
So that's why now I'll say I'm scared in that sense because of
people not being honest.
Yeah.
The system's lax, though. It's going by the base of somebody's word. And, as human beings, we tend to, if we don't want to tell the truth, how easy it is for us to lie. And that's that's what I was saying. It's like, as a teacher, when every time we go into a classroom, all I got to do is fill out a survey and say, hey, I don't feel this. How easy could I be feeling that and be like, you know what, I don't want to miss out on work and just and be like, I'm good. I'm sure parents feel that way and students. I'm not saying that these parents are the worst human beings, but I'm saying they probably just want to get rid of the kid out of the house and be like, yo, you need to go to school. And then all of a sudden, that's how it spreads. It spreads so easily. And so I wouldn't be shocked if in Stockton Unified, where we're at, like there's more cases that are just not being exposed and being shared.
And that's what scares us. That's what's the most scary aspect of the whole thing, because especially for Jordan, right? It's like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? Especially her being a baby, she goes to daycare, she can't express those symptoms and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, but so that's why I think now I'm the most scared I've ever been of COVID, to tell you the truth.
We're helpless at that point. What can you're just, as a parent, you're just sitting there and just like, man, anything can happen.
Yeah. I mean, I know in New York they're getting more strict with, and I don't know how this applies to schools and to daycares, but if any public facility that you want to go to, you're now having to provide proof of vaccination within New York City. And so my office, I mean, you know, they pushed it back again because we were supposed to open up in October. But when we finally do, they're requiring us to show our proof of vaccination as well in order to even be able to, you know, access the building. But for restaurants, for anything you want to go to within like the 5 boroughs of New York City, you have to show proof of vaccination at this point.
You know, and I appreciate this, Chris. I wish that you would make note of this because I believe that it's something we're going to need to unpack deeper in another COVID conversation in regard to, you know, people are like, well, what are my rights? You know, I don't want to, you know, and I just recently had, you know, a similar for me that was a scare, and so I'm very, very, you know, strict with my children. You know, and they practice. I'm strict with my children, and my children respect me um, in such profound ways, you know, and they love me enough. So, a lot of you have said that you've not dealt with anxiety. Well, so I have through trauma. And so I have diagnosed anxiety through trauma, slight OCD or what have you. And so I deal with it through prayer and I deal with it through some very natural ways. However, it is very, very real, very real. And with that being said, though, so one, I want to really just celebrate, you know, like with this generation and with you all. I love and appreciate and respect you all so much because you just the emotional intelligence that you display surrounding this is huge. And we're going to go over a little bit, you guys. So just bear with us. Give us like maybe 10 minutes, no more than that. You guys have displayed, oh God, she brought your fire on the screen.
You just woke up from the nap, so it's just like,
oh God,
I was a bit.
And my baby's still taking a nap, so that's why we keep checking. So yeah, I know how it is.
because I haven't seen him yet either, and I'm gonna. But yeah, so what I wanted to do, I wanted to tap on a couple of things. One is that my children have had to be the ones because of the generation that they're in to push me a little bit harder to not be so afraid. However, when they pushed me, right, and they pushed me hard, I was like, oh, okay, you know what, and I can do this. And so I remember Christmas, they were like, you know what, enough's enough. We haven't seen you in a year. We're coming. Get over yourself, get over your life. Now, at the end of the day, what they know is if they come, I'm not going to make them stand outside. These are my babies. So they just came. They were waiting for me to tell them it was okay, but they realized that they needed to show me that it was okay. So my kids came in where you seen pictures of all them other families, big old celebrations. Ain't nobody got masks on them. My kids, grandbabies is all up in here, masked up, right? Practicing all kind of, you know, safe measures or what have you. They did that for Granny. And I love and appreciate that for that, but they love me enough to do that. Well, watch this. At the end of the day, I want everybody to love me enough to do that. Don't lie and take your kids to daycare. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm getting emotional. Don't do that. Don't do that to Brianna and her family. Don't do that to Josiah. Don't do that to Issa. Don't take those liberties to where you don't love other human life enough because you may think that, you know, it's just okay for you, but it may not be okay for the next person. You don't know how it's going to impact. And the most profound conversation that I had with one of my daughters was, at the end of the day, what I don't want is for me to be exposed by you and not make it. You're not going to be okay. You won't be okay. Marky, it was hard and it's still hard for you to grapple with the fact that you exposed your wife, an unborn child, to COVID and the hurdles that you have to go through because of that. That's not okay. So for me, Tony, today, Elder Tony, I am saying, y'all, we got to do better because it's not okay. These families, we're doing the best that we can with what we have and what we know, vaccinated or not, to practice safety in order to protect our families. And it's just not okay for you to go kick it at the club, drink, party, do all it is that you want to do, and then want to call Chris and Bree and say, can I come over and visit the baby? And be mad that she said no.
Right.
What the heck? I was saying. Go ahead, Chris.
No, yeah, no, I'm just agreeing for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, so those are like some hard, stops, and we have to take those things into consideration. I'm going to give you guys a wrap up question, and I'm going to read something, and while you guys think about it. So I'm going to read something to everybody else, but what I want you guys to think of, just our go around last question, for you all. I'm gonna kick Toya off of social media. The craziest meme I ever seen was a picture of a mask and a condom sitting on a bench in a park. And the condom said to the mask, so they don't want to wear you either, huh? Woo! Oh, goodness. Anyway.
I remember seeing that meme. I remember it vividly too.
Ooh. So I want you guys to think about this question, and this is a wrap up question, and I'm going to read something while you guys are thinking about it. You guys are speaking to, other parents that are out there, and today, just lifting that up. And so I don't even want to give you like a one target audience or anything. I just want you guys to think during this whole thing, with all of the experiences that you have, what do you want? What do you want people to know? What would you want them to take away from this conversation today? With all that you have experienced from the beginning of this pandemic, your pregnancy, and all of that to today, you all walked away with some wisdom. And I don't want you to answer right now. I want you to let me read what I'm going to read, and I want you guys to think about it. What do you want them? What do you want them to take away from this conversation? So I'm going to share my screen really quick while you guys are coming up with that. And I don't even have to share my screen. I'm just going to read it. So I told you guys that we created a coronavirus chronicles. So I wrote this March 23rd, 2020. My baby is having a baby. Nothing in my mind prepared me for the realization that I would not be there to witness the birth of my grandson, Prince Issa. In fact, the truth is, I've often imagined what the day would be like when you experience the birth of your first child. I wondered how you would respond to your first contraction. I wasn't sure in my mind's eye whether or not you would even subject yourself to my coaching at the climax of each contraction. But my darling daughter, what I never allowed myself to imagine was not being there at your side during the birth of your firstborn child. The degree of separation we are experiencing due to the coronavirus is indescribable. The pandemic has revealed to me that little things we take for granted when it comes to family and friends, the little things. It has taken a significant amount of prayer to ease my tears, yet they still flow in the wee hours of the night. There are times I am in the throes of making changes to policies and saving lives, one protest at a time, when my mind drifts to this distance COVID-19 has created between us, and I'm forced to shut everything down in order to regain my composure. Yes, I know you already live on the other side of the globe. However, this virus has created another level of distance that reminds me that I truly have no control over anything. My dear, there's so much I wish to say to you in the preparation for receiving your first child. I want you to know childbirth is the most natural process in the world. God has created you for this very moment, and you will make it through with flying colors. I want you to know that it will be painful, and you will need to stay focused on the prize of Prince Issa. I want you to know that you should not concentrate on the fact that a contraction is coming, but concentrate on the fact that every contraction will come to an end. I want to tell you to remember not to panic. Your mind will want to freak out, lose control, and give up, but you must will it to submit to your authority. And most of all, I want to tell you that the moment you set eyes on your beautiful son, all the labor pains you experience will simply wash away. I cannot wait to see you when travel permits. In the meantime, riding in this manner must suffice. I love you, my beloved daughter, and I look forward to our journey together. Love forever, Momsy.
I remember that post, and I actually internalized a lot of that advice and wisdom when I was in labor, focusing on the fact that the contraction would end, not allowing the like fear to build up when the next one was coming. Because God, the pain was excruciating, and nothing could prepare me for the amount of pain that I was in. I just wasn't prepared. And then the not panicking. Yeah, childbirth is insane. So not panicking and like willing, like staying focused and being present as much as possible, focusing on my breathing, not focusing on Nabi because he was not helping, trying not to freak out because I'm freaking out. Yeah, but I remember that post vividly, and it was helpful.
I know that question. I'm a bit. I know you're thinking. I know exactly what I had in mind, and this goes more to the fathers, right, that are going into that labor room. That even though society will tell you your impact isn't as important as the woman and pushing it, like I knew from just the whole process from the beginning, from the first sonogram until we were literally March 20th in the hospital, or March 21st, 2 days before he was born. Like the process, enjoy and embrace the process. Enjoy the valleys, enjoy the hills and the valleys, because it was such a learning process through everything. Like I don't know what how or I don't know if I know God had put me in this position to like go through COVID and all that and be still present and still being able to receive the blessing that He had for us. But even in the room, like being there with the family and just every single time, a contraction came and I was able to help alleviate the pain as whatever I could do. Like to this day, like Brie always tells me how important it was, because it was just the presence of me being there helped her through that. And just to all the fathers that are trying to figure this out, new fathers too, right? Because I'm a new father, Chris, Leon, we're all new fathers in the Navi, right? Like just being able to be there and encourage words of wisdom, have words of affirmation throughout the walls, and reminding her that this is what her body, like this is like she was designed for this, and all we can do is remind her how strong a woman is. And like there is no strength that a man can ever say, hey, because when you see them go through that, you're just like in awe of the beauty of what the body was able to do. Like I already embraced her beauty as a husband, but to see her embrace her beauty as a mother, like just be able to witness it, be that encouragement, be that light, to show her that she is the light and just that she is the queen of what she was able to accomplish.
Thank you so much, Marky. Chris?
Yeah, I'll share what I would tell people listening to the call is that I don't know the Rojas family. I don't know the Scroggins family. I know Champagne, but I haven't seen Champagne in a long time, right? But what we all have is a shared experience. You know what I'm saying? That this wasn't not scripted conversation, none of that, right? And so I want to just tell the people that are listening, you know what I mean, that if you feel like you're like by yourself in this mental state, that you're not. You know what I'm saying? That we've already lived through it and we're living through it now. You see what I'm saying? And you just heard it from all these different families here. And so if you need someone to reach out to, I'll be here to listen to, especially for the fathers that can't go to the doctor visits. You know what I mean? Because I remember that experience for sure, right? I'll be an ear for you to listen to because you're not by yourself and you're not crazy, you're not tripping. This is a shared experience. It's commonality now with a lot of people our age that are having children.
Mm, yeah.
I would say to the families, the parents, whether your first time parents or just parents with multiple kids already, to the families, I think in general who are watching this call, I guess just be more gracious during this time and show your loved ones, give them more leeway and show them a little bit more mercy and kindness during this time than you maybe typically would have the capacity to do were this not the current environment. Everybody is dealing with a lot of added pressure, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of loneliness, a lot, worrying about money, worrying about finances, worrying about childcare, worried about so much that there's a lot of tensions. And so just be gracious and extend to your loved ones the grace that you would like them to extend to you during during the season.
Bree, was there anything that you wanted to add, sweetheart?
Yeah, I was thinking, and I was like toggling back and forth with like what could I say? But I think the biggest thing is like to the parents is have confidence in yourself. Have confidence in your ability to parent your children. Have confidence in your decisions. Know that you are the absolutely, your child the best, right? And just know that whatever decisions you make, like stand on that, and don't second guess. And just I think I would say that because if anything, I've learned that, and that boundaries are perfectly healthy. It is okay to say no, and all that. So yeah.
Who is that? Who is that?
Hi guys. Say hello.
Jordan?
Up, say what's up?
It's something, you guys. I'm looking at your beautiful, beautiful gifts. And I love the experience that I've had with even being able to have 5 a.m. conversations with Issa. There is nothing in the world like being woke up with the camera pointed at Granny Baby. Oh my God. And he is in love with me. But I did want to say, you guys are amazing. You are amazing parents. You are doing an amazing job in circumstances that God knew that you were going to be gifted and prepared for. He knew that this was going to take place, and he knew that your treasures were going to come forth in the midst of a pandemic. He knew. He knew. So I just wanted to tell you. And guess what? Your treasures, your gifts, they don't know what's going on because you all I'm telling you this, my words of wisdom to all of you that watch, that look, and to you guys that are with us today. To your babies, when they look at you and they look at their daddy, you are their world. They have no idea what's going on in this world apart from you. You are their world. You are their environment. You're their universe. You're their planet. You are their people. You are their everything. Champagne, when you get to me, you're home, right? We are home. We've been homeless, and we had to learn that with us, the 5 of us, we are home. A building doesn't define us. So yeah, I lift you guys up, and I'm so grateful. Oh, there's my baby. Granny baby. Hi, Granny baby.
I'm like, we can at least bring the baby on the camera.
Hi, Granny baby. Oh, I see him waving at his granny. Oh Lord, and he's talking.
What
You
you
saying hi
say?
to everybody.
Hey.
So we're gonna get to the other side. This is the perfect place to end. So everybody, I appreciate you. I just super love you and thank you for being here and being part of this conversation. Um, so I want you guys don't tap out. We're gonna end our live. But and thanks to you all for tapping into the conversation that watched. I'm asking that you all would share this conversation. There is healing to be had, and we have to continue to have these dialogues in order for us to heal. We got to heal through this process. Um, as far as the vax and not getting vaccinated, here's the deal, you guys. You need to do what is best for you. And if you choose to get vaccinated, if you choose not to, can you, if you, at the end of the day, can you choose to prefer others over yourself in this season? Care about Josiah and Jordan and Issa. They need your help. These babies need your help. What we're creating today is the world, the future that they're going to live in tomorrow. What are we doing to leave them a world that they can live in? Huh? Say, because they deserve to live in a good place. All right, you guys. Peace. Love you. Thanks for tapping in.